all that complicated stuff, just about everybody has seen this stuff before. And you got your fundamental safety test in front of you. Everybody got that? Everybody got it in front of you. Everybody got it in front of you and ready. A safety stand is also called a,
D.
it's gonna be a jack stand. If you don't put a jack stand under there when you jack a car up, it could fall on you, and you don't want that. Got me? I mean, it has happened. You can't trust hydraulics, like hydraulic jack to hold that. The good thing about these lifts that we got over here, the big above ground lifts, is they got even if they start to come down, the locks will catch them. It's not going to come very far before it hits the locks. It's going to stop. Be careful on this airlift here with leaving it up in the air with something like a screw jack under it, though, because ever so often, it doesn't happen all that often, it'll ease down in the middle of the night. It goes down really, really, really slow. But if there's something under it that won't compress, it's liable to cause cause it to fall off the jack. So we don't want that. Professional repair shops don't use ramps because of.
See?
I don't. It says they can. I don't like. It says they can kick out. That's one of the answers. That's the answer I like, basically. But the answer that they're claiming is the right one doesn't make any sense to me. They can be used without having to block the wheels. Why would that be a reason not to use them? You know what I mean? I don't get that. I've never ever really liked ramps. I mean, ramps. If I'm having to work out there somewhere, I would rather find a ditch or something to park it over where I can get under it. So the only way it's going to fall on you if it's over a ditch. You know what I mean? But usually I got Jackson stands and everything, even if I have to work on my own vehicle at home. The SAE standard for hoist location is. You know about these SAE standards? That's going to be J1980. Those are J numbers usually. Like for instance, in your emission control stuff, your J1930 regulation, standardized the terminology in the connector and all that kind of stuff where you plug your thing in. Tall safety stands, which would be like the one Dustin was using on the Cadillac over there, would be used to do what? That would be both B and C. If you take what we used to do when I was working at the dealership is we had a pickup truck that we raised up that was kind of long, and we were sort of spooked about it being kind of back heavy or something. Once we got it up in the air, we would put a couple of those screw jacks under the bumper to provide added support. You know what I mean? Just put some snugness on them. We got a couple of the screw jacks here. We used it to raise that engine up. Dustin was using it to, raise the lower control arm, which that Cadillac took those torsion bars. We had to loosen one of the torsion bars to get it to go back on there. But that screw jack is really, really, really fun. It's the tripod thing that's got the screw deal on top of it. You'll see it. If you hadn't seen one, you will. What are the commonly damaged areas of a vehicle during hoisting? What do you think? What do you think? Everybody like an answer?
D.
Include rocker panels, tires or body panels. I would say that's a D. I'd say that's an all of the above because I've seen them all. You do know that if you're on one that's got a frame, you're going to put it under the frame. If you're on one that doesn't have a frame, you put it where the jack would go if you were going to change a tire. If you're going to change a tire, they'll have a little notch in the pinch well where it's welded together. Put it under that. If it's got a frame, put it under the frame. On a pickup truck, and you guys have seen this before, and some of them are kind of tricky to do this on. I can pick up that thing. The front of the leaf spring is actually made like that. You got your leaf spring. I like to put one of them right there. But what you want when you're lifting one up, what you want it to do, you want to make sure that the distance between the pad and whatever it's going to touch is the same on the front and on the back. Now that's important because on some of them the vehicle may be made like this, and so what you'll need to do is make sure that you either screw this one up or put that one down. So make sure that this distance is the same on the front and the back. And that's basically what you're looking for, so that when you raise it up, you don't really want the vehicle jacked up in the air at an angle, because that doesn't look very professional, and I don't really like the balance aspect of it. Also, you need to think about where the weight distribution is. Secondly, if there's a pickup that you're thinking about raising up, and it's got a heck of a lot of weight in the back of it, be aware that on some pickups, the frame is weak enough nowadays where you can break the truck in half by raising it up on the lift with a heavy load in the back. There's a tire store in Enterprise that did everything right raising the truck up, but the frame broke because it was such a heavy load in the back of the truck. And of course, the tire store's insurance paid for the guy a new frame put under there, which was no fun. But the long and the short of it is, if it's loaded really, really heavy, especially way back in the back, somebody's got it stacked full of bags of sand or a bunch of concrete and all, raising it on the lift with a heavy load in the back is just a bad idea all the way around. So just be prepared for that, Some weight in the back's not a big deal, but a lot of weight, particularly very far in the back, is, it's bad news. Pad extensions may be needed when hoisting what type of vehicle?
B or C.
That's going to be either B or C, actually, pickups or vans. Technician A says a hoist can be stopped at any level as long as the safety latch engages. Technician B says the vehicle should be hoisted to the top of the hoist travel for safety. That's basically D. The safety latch basically is only engaged ever so often. The right way to do it, if you don't know the truth about it, like when we're doing our front end lift over there, we want to make sure it's sitting on the safety latches so it'll be level. Remember that? If you had front end, steering and suspension training, you raise it up, it goes clink, 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 clink. You wait till it goes past the highest latch, the lowest latch, or the highest latch rather, and then you lower it onto the latches. That's really the right way to do that, is to lower it onto the latches. But those above ground lifts are pretty safe. I will tell you what you do need to be paying attention to. The little locks that are there that keep the arms from moving when the jack is off the floor, or when the lift is off the floor, those don't need to be gerrymandered so that you can just adjust them any kind of a way. Because what we don't want is we don't want any chance of those things moving while the lift is under the truck and it's in the air. And we had one of those lifts back there where that Cadillac is. There was an older lift that we had before, and the part of it that was supposed to keep that arm from moving when the vehicle was off the ground was faulty. It was not working quite right every time. And, of course, if you, it actually, the way it was designed, it had a little threaded rod. It went in a sleeve, and there was a little red ball with a peg that was supposed to go down in there. And it was basically working as good as it was designed to work, but it wasn't good enough in its design. And we had a truck that tried to fall off the lift because the arm moved. And so be careful of that. Also, what I like to do, and we talk about this hoisting thing, when I hoist one up, as soon as I get it clear of the floor, in addition to bouncing it, I like to poke my head under there and make sure those pads are sitting where they're supposed to be. Instead of waiting until I get it up in the air and I've walked under it, I like to bend over and get down there and say, am I touching the frame? It's an extra step, but it's a whole lot better. And occasionally, you'll see one of those things that will move a little bit. I was raising up Papa G's truck one day, and when I went around there to look at it, when you're looking at the front of that spring, that curved spring thing, where you're putting and it's got a kind of a bolt sticking out after it goes through here. That pad had moved and was sitting under this instead of where I had put it, and that was bothered. I set it down real quick and fixed it. But like I say, if you get it up there and you can tell it's about to fall, that's a hairy situation. Lowering that thing, hoping it don't fall before it gets to the ground, And we haven't really had any problem like that here, but we don't want to have any problem, except when that one guy left the brake pedal loose on the Bronco, and then the kid got in it the next day and cranked it up, put it in drive, and managed to go forward and knock another car off the lift with it. That was brilliant. It didn't hurt anybody, but it was outstanding performance on everybody. Perfect storm. Everything came together to make a mess. I have pictures of that on my phone that I can show you if you want to see it. Whereas the car I knocked off the lift was an old one, but the long and the short of it is there's a ton of things that you can get so comfortable around stuff that you start doing stuff unsafely, and it's not a good idea to be that way. That's what we're all about right here. Before lowering the vehicle, what should you do?
All of these.
Be sure no one will be walking underneath it. Make sure nothing's under it. Raise it enough to release the safety latch. This is about the fouled uppest answer key I've ever seen in my life. All right, so Technician A says a creeper should be stored vertically Technician B says a creeper should be stored on its casters. How many of you have walked across the shop and saw a creeper laying on the floor that somebody just left there? Sometimes it happens here, doesn't it? Why didn't the rest of you guys raise your hands? You know you've seen it. You know, what are you going to say? What are you going to tell your buddy whenever he's laid up in the hospital with an injured back because you left a creeper and he would, you know, like that. You don't put the creeper
Should've
on the
watched where
ground.
you're going.
Huh?
Exactly.
Should've watched where you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you should, but at the same time, there's
The
no
only
use in,
excuse
there's no
you
use
have
in,
is if you're blind.
there's no use in tempting fate, you know? I mean, you could basically,
Fate should always be tempted.
yeah.
A nice person would say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but anyway, well, you know, it's,
There ain't
it's
no
a,
nice in here.
it's a bad bet to go that route.
Me?
Let's see, all right, let me flip this
Over.
over. When checking stability, how high should a vehicle be raised? According to the book, anybody know?
The foot?
Huh?
Foot?
30 centimeters, yeah, about the book. Or foot, I thought you said the book. The technician A says, whenever a floor jack is used to raise a vehicle off a ground, safety stand should be used to support it. Technician B says the floor jack can support the vehicle safely as long as it's just for a short time.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this, it depends on what you're gonna be doing. If you're not gonna have to, like, let's say that you weren't gonna go under there on a creeper, you were just gonna poke your head, just gonna lower your head and look and see what you could see. Maybe you were gonna just get down from out here and look up under the car and see something you couldn't see without it jacked up. You don't have to put a jack stand under for that. If you're not going under there, you don't have to put one under, but don't leave it up there a long time because the jack's not really made for that. You know, most of the time a good jack can handle it, you know, but don't get so comfortable with it that you get under there with nothing but a jack under it. You know, that's just really bad news. Let me see,
Going to C on that one?
huh? On that particular one, believe it or not, 11 says it's gonna be C, yeah. Technician A says always adhere to the specified hoisting locations as found in service information. And, you know, that is true, but how many times have you looked it up? I mean, you know, we got a book out here that I showed Jessica a while ago, but, you know, most of the time we don't look at those. You can figure out where to put the lift pads. You know, don't damage the vehicle, that's the most important thing. There was somebody that got used to just putting it under the sides of these bodies on these front wheel drive cars, and then they pulled my Ranger in here and they were just gonna put it under the side of the bed. You know how much that's gonna crinkle everything up if they raise it up. Brilliant. All right, now then, let me see. Oh, by the way, when you're driving trainer cars around, don't go on the road with them, and make sure that you're following the traffic rules around the campus. You know, because if anybody runs into you, I want them to be the one that was going the wrong way, not you. And we had that happen on the Ranger one day. The guy was following the traffic rules, and somebody come zooming out from between electronics and welding, went bam, ran into the side of the truck. That's how that dent got in the door. You know?
So 12 is C.
And so 12 is actually going to be, yeah, C. Technician B says adapters or extensions are often needed. That's something that Daniel was showing you a while ago, Jessica. 2, technicians are discussing lifting of a vehicle. Technician A says putting the pads of the lift under the pinch weld seams of a unit body vehicle. That's what I was talking about. That's where the jack's put when you're going to raise it up. Technician B says place the pads as far apart as possible on the frame of a full frame vehicle. That is absolutely correct because, I mean, I like when I say place them as far apart as possible. Like I say, I don't like hardly, a lot of these answers, I don't like, makes me wonder if I got the wrong key. But this is what they're talking about here. Looking at the vehicle from the top. You got the big heavy engine up here, right? You got, maybe it's a pickup or something right here. All right, if you put this, your frame, your leads on there, I have seen people put these things like this. And like they were gonna raise it up. Now what's wrong with that is, it's not nearly as good as this. You see the principle?
Weight distribution.
If you spread them out so that you're holding it here and here, but I mean, I've seen people have them just like, almost right in the middle and trying to, you know, catch them, don't do that. You know, because you can just get a life-size picture of the pickup, you know, falling off. Like I say, we hadn't had that, but we don't want to have it either. All right. Also, here's something else. When you're putting a floor jack under a vehicle, don't put the jack pad underneath the aluminum housing of anything. I mean, if it's the oil pan or the rear end, a lot of them's got aluminum rear end housings. If you go to jacking under there and you crack that aluminum housing, somebody's got a lot of money to spend to fix what you messed up with that jack. You know, if you absolutely have to put the jack under something like the aluminum oil pan, put a 2x4 on top of the jack, and that way it won't bust the oil pan. Now, I've seen oil pans busted where somebody figured that this reinforced oil pan, you know, with its little waffle grid look on there, would be enough. They put the jack under there and you get enough weight on it, and all of a sudden, now the oil pan's gotta be replaced, you know, so don't go there. That hasn't happened here, but I've seen it happen at the dealership. Let's see, number 13, let's see, technician B says replace the hazardous part. Yeah, I like both A and B. A says ramps are an expensive way to raise the front or rear of the vehicle. That's an inexpensive way, actually, so you know that guy's wrong. Technician B says ramps can be dangerous because they can kick out. And that one right there is the one that's the right answer, is B. Technician A says that tall safety stands can be used to provide additional support for a vehicle while on a hoist. Technician B says some newer vehicles have a decal indicating the recommended hoisting lift positions. That's both A and B. I will tell you this, though. I've never seen one of those decals. I really hadn't.
I've seen on the pinch welds or whatever, it'll have like a little triangle.
Yeah,
there
that's a
pointing.
point. That's a good point. I do know also that some of the decals on these vehicles, I wonder about the stuff that's on them. Like Mary Ann's got that yellow Crossfire out there. And if she's got less than 60 pounds of air, well, actually less than about 58 pounds of air, and on any one of her tires, the tire pressure warning light comes on. But if you look at the sticker on the door, it says to put 32 PSI. And she's got the factory tire. So why does it say 32 PSI if you gotta have more than 57 pounds in there to turn off that tire pressure warning light?
Because the tires they're using are low profile tires that require more air pressure.
Uh-huh.
And then the actual regular factory tires are more of a black and thick.
Those aren't though. That's the factory tires on that Crossfire.
I think
those-
it's considered clerical error.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, I may be off left field, but that's the sticker. It bothers me when the sticker's not accurate. Let me see. This is what I was talking about earlier. When removing heavy components, well, I say this, I was kind of talking about this. When removing heavy components that may change the center of the gravity of the vehicle, you basically, you're supposed to use tall safety stands. Has anybody done that this morning? Have you removed a heavy component that might change the gravity of the vehicle?
Nobody's working on the horse.
You got the transmission out, didn't you? Of course, you didn't. That one wasn't as solid, you know, the one that we got on there. Let me see here. Which of these is least likely to be used to lift a vehicle in a professional shop?
Drive-up ramps.
I have got to have the wrong test here. This is going to be drive-up ramps. You're not going to use drive-up ramps in a professional shop typically. I mean, you know, shops usually got lifts or, you know, jacks and jack stands or something like that. Technician A says never to look away from a vehicle being hoisted. That's correct. Technician B says a vehicle must be raised off the mechanical locks before lowering. Both those guys are right. Always watch it really careful when it's going up so you can see if it shifts all of a sudden. What's the rest of that story? What's the rest of it? Watch the vehicle when it's going down. There was a guy that worked over there at the Ford place, and he hadn't really been working in the shop all that long, but he knew he had a drive-on lift, and he had a propensity to, the locks were basically released and it would stay released, which you didn't have to hold it like ours, but I like ours better. You'd think you had it released. And he would just lean against the thing and smoke a cigarette while it was going down. And he didn't get one of them released right, and the van, you know, slid off the lift, bent the door and all that kind of stuff. That was about $1,000 mess up. But he was just leaning on it, smoking a cigarette while he was doing it. I was thinking, you know, if he'd have been watching that, he'd have seen it before it got out of hand. But he had his back turned to it, leaning on the knob. You know. Don't get so cavalier that something blows up in your face. All right, we're going to keep going here. When lowering a vehicle, lower it slowly, make sure it remains stable. Watch these over here. If for some reason you had that thing not quite up off the safety lock and you mash the cable and you start lowering it and the safety lock on the other side catches, you'll see it start to tilt a little. That's when you stop and raise it back up and get it off there. I never had a mishap there, but just watch it and be careful. We've always had careful people here. We hadn't had any mishaps and all that. And finally, vehicle hoists are rated by what?
Me.
Maximum lifting capacity. And you can see the ones out here. How many of you has noticed that the safety sticker on this one hoist out here, and it was a brand new hoist, you know, when it was put in there not a lot long ago, the safety sticker was put on it upside down.
I noticed that.
You know, I mean, if you hadn't noticed that, you ought to look at it. It's kind of funny. They got the whole, it's a big yellow sticker. They give you all kind of instructions, and you have to stand on your head to read it, or take a picture of it with your cell phone, turn it over. All right.